G'day mates, in today's video I'm going to kick off talking about Fortnite competitive statement today about what they're going to do considering the Ukraine situation around FNCS. They're going to be making another tournament with equal prize money for players affected by the Ukraine situation. We're going to talk about exactly what that means and what that might look like before we jump into who qualified and who didn't today from the first day of FNCF semifinals. We had some absolutely massive pop-offs from teams like Clix and Deyy, and we had some huge qualifying games, but some of the big teams still missed out. So I'm going to cover everything and let you guys know what you missed. There's a lot to talk about. Let's just jump into it. Before I get into talking about who qualified and who popped off and all the excitement from today, I want to address Epic's statement about the situation in Ukraine right now. I don't need to go too much into it. You guys know what's going on in Ukraine right now. It is incredibly sad, and as it's affecting everything in the world, it's also affecting Fortnite and its players. We have very notable pros like Stormyride and Fremont caught up in all of this, and even though that Fortnite's probably the last thing on their mind and our thoughts and prayers are with them, we're hoping everything's okay. Epic Games is trying to do what it can to make sure it doesn't affect them when it comes to Fortnite and their careers as well. Epic Games tweeted out that they are going to be potentially making another tournament for these players. So they said, our team is concerned for all competitors affected by events in Ukraine. We understand some may be unable to play in the FNCS semifinals and finals, and will provide impacted competitors in the EU, Asia, and Middle East server regions opportunities to participate in alternate tournaments. They said, as we better understand the situation and consider alternatives, our goal will be to provide similar prized opportunities for any qualified players who are affected. And I think this is honestly very, very touching. A lot of people were calling for Fortnite to potentially postpone FNCS so it wouldn't affect these players. This drew a lot of different opinions from lots of people saying that like Fortnite's the last thing on their mind, like who really cares about Fortnite right now when everything's going on. And then a lot of people saying, well, this is their job, and hopefully you have to imagine a world where for Stormyride and Fremont and other players, things go back to somewhat normal where they're going to continue their careers as Fortnite players. And this situation is incredibly sad, but also it's only a few days out from FNCS. There's thousands of competitors. Epic's done a lot for FNCS. A lot of people saying they shouldn't postpone it for this. So it was just, as you can imagine, an incredibly difficult, sensitive situation. And I think Epic's handled it really, really well. I'm interested to see what they mean by these tournaments and what could happen. They aren't the only esport doing this right now. ALGS, which is Apex Legends version of FNCS, they have postponed at the moment because of this and European competitors being impacted. Valorant's done the same thing as well. And it's awesome to see gaming do what little part they can to try to support this very, very sad situation. Obviously, we're incredibly sad, and yes, gaming isn't the focus right now, but I wanted to mention this, and I'm interested to see exactly what Fortnite Competitive has planned, because this will be a difficult one to reconcile, but we hope everything's going well for players like Stormyride and Fremont. I know I myself do, and the community's been rallying behind them, which has been awesome to see, and let's just hope everything's all right. All right, let's get into talking about who qualified and who didn't, all the craziness from today's games. And kicking off with EU, I'm actually really proud of myself. I haven't been following EU for a really long time. I only started to get into it a few seasons ago because obviously most of it was happening at 1 or 2 a.m. back home when I was in Australia. But I started getting up, I started watching it, and clearly I've been paying attention. Yesterday's video, I picked 8 teams that I thought were going to qualify at some point through the 3 semifinals games. Remember, we're going to have 11 players go through each of the first 2 days. That's 22 players. And then we're going to have 12 players go through the last day. So that's going to be 34 players. I picked out 8 teams that I thought were going to go through, and 7 of them have gone through on the first day. EU was super exciting. We had so many big teams show up. It really was an exhibition of how good this format is. It's incredibly exciting watching all the top teams get victory royales and go straight through, and knowing that every single win matters. It meant that even if you're in last place going into last game, you didn't grief, you didn't start playing stupid, you went for that victory royale. Meanwhile though, other teams who didn't get a victory royale but played really consistently also still qualified through. It honestly is a fantastic format, and I think, and I'm going to talk about this in a later video on like what my perfect format would be, if we had qualifiers that went a little bit longer, like maybe 3 weeks of qualifiers and then this semi-final format, this is one of the best semi-final formats I've seen. And yes, technically a better method might just be giving all the places to consistency, but at the same time, the excitement that this brings, where it kind of feels like a reboot round but it kind of doesn't, is insane. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll just briefly explain it. If you win a game in semi-finals, you go through into the grand finals, and if you get a top 6 on the overall leaderboard. So it's got that excitement and it's still got that consistency. And across the board, if you look at the teams that went through, clearly it's working. We have like the best of the best teams in EU making it through today. Game 1, we had Vortex and Janice come out and clutch it up. They had uncontested Greasy Grove. That is going to be a winning formula for such a high-profile team. They did it with 7 eliminations, so they didn't just camp until the end game and take it. It was a huge, huge performance from them. Game 2, the only team that I didn't predict to go through, but absolutely no surprise when you got an FNCS champion of Toos on your team. Toos and Putrick took out Game 2 with a 5 elim win. Game 3 went, of course, to the FNCS veteran, Tayson and Thomas HD. Tayson and Thomas getting an 8 elim win in their game as well. Then we had Joe and Veno backing that up next game with an 8 elim win. Remember, both these teams were going the same drop spot. And then game 5, we had Seti and Chapix get a 10 elim win, showing up big. They had uncontested logjam. They actually changed up their drop spot rather than going tilted towers, but they still managed to clutch up the win. And yeah, you probably noticed there, Tayson Thomas and Joe and Veno both went covert cavern and both got wins today. It's no surprise, especially once Tayson and Thomas qualified. Joe and Veno had their drop mostly uncontested. There was another team on the north side of covert, but they were able to get the vault loot. All it took was a single game. They won it and they went through. Honestly, they played so phenomenally well. All these teams did, and it made it so exciting to watch. It's also worth mentioning EU went to the high ground. NA East, not so much, and I'll talk about that in a second, but on EU, it was all the story of high ground. Not half-half or first rotating. It was the teams that took high ground late game on like second rotating, but I have to give the clutch of the day on EU to Joe and Veno. Just Veno went absolutely insane with the Spider-Man. Their last game, they had no AR, no SMG bullets. All they had was shotgun. And I mean, I'll just show you. Let me show you what Veno did. We are Spider-Manning anything we can. The play comes up. Shotgun's the one thing we have. If we get the refresh here with the shotgun, that could be the mini ammo we need. Shotgun battle is what Veno needs. He goes up for it. Can Veno pull off the play? And oh my god, he does. Oh my god, Veno's going crazy. We get the high ground kill, the low ground kill. The shotgun is all we had, and the shotgun is all we need. It is a 2v1. The player is down. It is Veno in a 1v1 now against Jixon. Jixon's in Storm. That might be one of the best solo clutches we have seen. Joe was there. Joe was backing him up, but that was all Veno. Veno goes for the absolute god clutch. Yeah, as you can see, just absolutely insane. So exciting. But again, it wasn't just about who got the win, because we had other teams that got top 6 outside of the wins. One of the ones I want to call out at the bottom up first, Mustache and Malibuca. And this is why the format is so good. I mean, it looks kind of crazy that you can make it through with only 2 good games, but they got a 6 elim second and a 7 elim second. The only 2 games they made it off spawn, they got second place both times. If this was still reboot round, they would not be in the grand final, but because they had 2 phenomenal games, that was enough to get them inside the top 6 only just, and now they're going to be going through. So we also had Grolls and Clownsky getting the most consistent team who didn't get a win. They got a 6th, an 8th, and an 8th, so they obviously did deserve to be up there. Didn't get a second place, but really, really consistent games from them. Antics and X-Sweezy, who also got a 3rd place, so happy to see they didn't need the win either. We had Vico and Jixon. We had Kinzel and Deceptor, so 2 of the French teams making it through on consistency. Lucia and Fury, no surprise there for them. And then Mustache and Malibuca, like I talked about. Unfortunately, Belusi and Hydro missing out. It was 12 points, so it wasn't only 1 or 2 points, but I know it's still going to sting for them, but they do have tomorrow. Remember, they still have 11 games tomorrow where they need to get a Victory Royale or top 6, and they have 12 games on Sunday where they need to get a top 6 or one of the 6 wins. There's still plenty of chances for your favorite teams who haven't made it through yet. EU is all of the story about the big names on high ground, huge pop-offs, everyone just kind of going crazy. And East was a little bit different. While still being incredibly excited, it was a lot of underdog teams who kept their head down through the low and mid while all those big teams fought over high ground and then ended up just clutching up the dub. So again, no discredit to these teams. I'm so happy to see them in the finals. They've won and they deserve to win, but it's not really the big names you'd expect. So yes, my NA East predictions are a little bit off. EU is kind of where I had all my bragging rights. I got a few on NA and most of them got through off consistency, not wins like I thought they would, but wait till I go through, you know what I mean. So game 1, we had Shadow and Me Too clutched up with an 11 elim win. Again, just playing mid and low ground really, really well. Came down to a 1v1 with Ages and they just managed to clutch it up. Game 2 went to Threats and Users, one of the teams I did pick. They played phenomenally well, got a 9 elim win under their belt as well. Then we had Sin and RN Star who got a 7 elim win. This is on the back of getting a clutch refresh in that end game on Scented. They took him out. out, secured the chili chug splashes and the launch pad, went for high ground and clutched it up big. Then we had Nets and Sparky, again, another very underrated team, getting a 6 elim win. And then I hyped up Veno on EU. The best clutch of the day, in my opinion, has to go to Peterbot. I know you're saying Veno's clutch was pretty crazy, but let me show you Peterbot's. Let me show you with Peterbot's comms as well. It's going to be Twitter quality, but I think the comms make it even better. Just slight volume warning at the very end, okay? Peterbot, he gets a bit vocal. Let me show you his huge solo clutch.
Nice. Go up one. Nice. Good layer. Watch your floors, Peter. Watch your floors. Watch your floors.
Mine.
Oh. Your top 9. 24 white. It pulls far left. One kid's gonna jump in behind you, careful. You're top 8 right now, a lot of solos. Wow, you're crazy, bro. Gold shotgun, by the way. Go up one. Top 7, bro, so many solos. Try to pop big, You have 150 men miss. Oh my god. Go for height maybe, and kill the kid on height. What? Nice, bro. Oh my god. Go up high, Peter. Oh my god. Wait. You got this, Peter. Sorry, bro. 1v2v1. Focus the duo all the way low ground.
Bro, just keep raping me, bro.
Nice, 1v1, Peter, get the siphon. He's behind you in zone,
I'm so good!
Absolutely crazy stuff from Peterbot. As always, those are your top 5, but the next most consistent teams, and this one shocked a lot of people, myself included. We had Deyy and Clix, not because I didn't think they were going to go through. I picked them as one of my 8 teams to qualify. I thought they were going to do it off the back of a pop-off win, but they were the most consistent team today on NA East by a big margin, by 34 points over Donny and Macwood. They had a 2 elim 34th, which was their worst game, but then the last 4 games were insane. 7 elim 3rd, 6 elim 10th, 7 elim 4th, and then a 6 elim 14th. And that last game, they were kind of just going crazy. Clix and Deyy went live on stream, celebrating their first time playing together in a tournament as the NRG duo, and they clutched up big. And going into grand finals, that has to give them confidence. They didn't just do it off pop-off wins. They figured out their surge, they figured out their rotates, and they were playing very, very clean Fortnite. Then we had Donny and Macwood, another team I predicted, doing it out of Bugle. And this is interesting because Nico and Polarize also qualified out of Bugle. Both teams going there, not getting a win, but both playing phenomenally consistently. But now they're probably going to be contesting each other in grand finals together. But they've both shown, as long as they don't fight too much on spawn, there was a couple times they took each other out down. There is definitely no collusion going on here between these teams. Polarize has been dropping on Macwood's forehead the entirety of this season at main building. They did fight when they got the chance of loot superiority, but for the most part, both these teams choosing to loot and rotate, and they both played phenomenally. Then we had Crunchy and Pure, another very underrated team, and then we had Cold and Centered clutching it up with Death and Tabney. Now, Cold, Centered, Death, and Tabney all had 110 points, just getting top 11, but then unfortunately, Joji and Rokane, my pick to qualify, their consistency was insane. They were one singular point off qualifying. They got a 0 elim 29th in their last game. If they got 1 or 2 points in that game, they would have qualified, but I have no doubt that Joji and Rokane will bring it back on day 2. I don't even think it's going to go to a day 3 for them. They will qualify. Last up, NA West. I didn't really make any predictions on NA West because most of the big names and big teams I've been following are already through. It's really hard to follow West when you start to get towards these semifinals because, again, a lot of the players you don't know about, but the games were still really, really fun to watch. I did do a viewing party for them, and a lot of the big names and some people that I absolutely love in the scene made it through, so I'm super hyped for them. We had Beast and Tao Tai go through. Vernie and Midi, again, just a soft spot team for me. I love Midi. He's one of my favorite people in the scene. We had Salty and Creor, who, again, Creor, you may have noticed, was the pro player who absolutely popped off playing with Nick Merckx at the Streamer Bowl. He is having an absolute dominant season. He got a dub as well. We had Little J and Wiz, and then game 5, one of the favorites to win FNCS at the moment, Fabs and Snacky leaving it until the last game to clutch up the win. If they didn't get the win, they were not making it through on consistency. They had a rough day between just a couple of rough games, Fab's internet crashing, but the game 5 clutch was massive from them. Then going down to the consistency, we had an absolute crowd favorite in my stream. Everyone was cheering them on. Landjock and Punishers, the OGs from World Cup era, the most consistent team on NA West on the day. Their match history is insane. 3 Elim 4th, 5 Elim 5th, 1 Elim 12th, 2 Elim 10th, and a 1 Elim 6th, getting an average place of 7.40 in set lobby finals. Huge for them. Then we had Aiden and Moose, Nigel and Angel, Zooks and Bolts, Slick Nick and Convict, who, by the way, Slick Nick and Convict did it in 3 games. I heard they had internet issues, so they managed to get top 11 or top 6 most consistent teams with 3 games. A 6 Elim 9th, 2 Elim 7th, and 8 Elim 2nd. So huge hats off to them. Then we had Russo and C Winter. C Winter also representing the Antics game, putting in his name. So huge shout out to him. And yeah, NA West was super exciting. They're going to go through in the grand finals. There's not too many big names left on West to qualify. I think one of the biggest ones at this point will be Wavy Jacob and Chris, who are playing in semifinals number 2. If they can clutch it up, we've got a very stacked NA West on our hand. There's a few teams still across the board who've been playing really well. Natch and Hover still in there. We've got Scissor, Nico. We've got a lot of teams, but for the most part, the big ones you've probably been focusing on, they're already in there. All right, guys, that does it for another video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please chuck a like on it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.